Spiritual protection for beginners. Welcome to the channel. My name is Aeron Lazar. I'm a multidimensional psychic, and I'm here as part of my soul's mission to bring you spirituality in a way which is really easy to comprehend, down to earth, and very, very practical, so it can help to improve and to change your life. So spiritual protection for beginners. Welcome to the video. Let's get into it. And also, if you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. So hit the icon. It'll help us help you. It helps us to grow the channel. And it also means that you get notified immediately that we release a brand new video on this channel. So you're not going to waste any time whatsoever, and you can enjoy the content as it comes along. So before we get into spiritual protection, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this video, there's a couple of fundamental principles that I would just really like to explain to you, so you get a wider context of how this works. And you would have, if you've been watching this channel and watching the content on this channel, you would have heard me refer to the quantum field as what I call the playground for consciousness. And I use language intentionally. And the reason that I call it playground for consciousness is that when we go into the playground, the quantum field, consciously, that we should do so with a lightness, and we shouldn't have any heaviness around us or put pressure on ourselves. So we should be able to go in and explore the playground for consciousness, the quantum field, in a fun way. When the pressure's off, we're having fun, then we tend to learn more, etc. However, within the quantum field, because this video is about spiritual protection, right? Within the quantum field exists all potentials, right? So you've got darkness, you've also got light. So you know the image, which is yin-yang, the yin-yang image. And that's, you've got darkness, you've got light in the dark, and you've got dark in the light. And that describes this reality perfectly. So within the quantum field, or the playground for consciousness, is all potentials. And that means you've got the stuff which is angelic, which is amazing, which is extremely high vibrational, but you've also got the stuff which is pretty dark, and that is negative, and that is extremely low vibrational. And I want you to think of this in this way. And you know, if you've been following the channel or you've been following me, that I like to teach in analogies, because analogies are a really good way to help you to comprehend and to understand things. So think of the playground when you were in school. So the playground for consciousness, you can have fun, you can play in there. But if you think of a high school and you think of a playground within a high school, there's probably kids within that playground, or human beings within that playground, that would probably drag you off to the corner, stick you in a headlock, steal your lunch. And then there's kids that you would want to hang out with and that you would want to probably be friends with. And it's no different within the quantum field. There's all kinds of entities, there's all kinds of extraterrestrial races that you can communicate with. And I'll talk to you quickly about a few different things that you will find in there. So obviously there's all the races of light within there. You don't need to protect from them, obviously. But what you do have within the quantum field, which is negative, okay, is all the negative extraterrestrial races. So I'm not going to name them on here, but I'm sure that you know the negative polarity races, okay? So there's extraterrestrials that hold this negative polarity. They're part of the overall symphony of this experience. So you've got the ET races. You've then got low astral beings that come from the astral plane, but they exist within there, okay? You've got demons, you've got negative spirits, and you've got the other things that sit within the spirit realm as well. So you have to be mindful of this, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns within the quantum field. And this is, even as a spiritual beginner, you need to make sure that you're protected. So I'll give you sort of part of my testimony. So when my third eye came online 25 years ago now, I'm 45, but when I was 20, it firmly switched on. And it was almost like all of the radio stations and TV stations wanted to come through at the same time, all the positive, all the negative. And because I was 20, I was headstrong at that time. Even my teacher at that time was trying to drum into me spiritual protection. And I was like, I don't need spiritual protection. I'm fine. And I was fine until I wasn't. And then what was happening was, it was fine as I was learning and developing at weekends. But then, I had a job at that time. And I remember on random Tuesday evenings, and I'm trying to get to sleep at sort of 10:30 p.m. I need to be up for work the following day. Lights are off. I'm trying to sleep in the bedroom. And I'm seeing shadows, and I'm sensing this terrifying energy and all of this negativity and this negative frequency wanting to come through, to the point where I wanted to run out of the house. I was petrified. And of course, if something had been there in the physical, I've always been physically capable, go to the gym, exercise, etc. I probably could have got rid of that physical entity out of the house, or done my best. But because this is all energy, you've got nothing to hold, nothing to grab, right? You could just get this sense of it. So it really, really frightened me, because I had no spiritual protection in place. So that's why I'm hoping that some of you who are beginners really take some value for what I'm going to teach you in this video, and that you don't make the same mistakes that I made, and thinking that you can wander around completely unprotected. Because once you know how to set the protection up within the quantum field, and I'll explain to you in this video exactly how to do it, you're going to be shielded, you're going to be protected, and you're going to obviously have this inner standing about the way things work, and universal law, and your position with it when it comes to frequency and entities and all of this kind of stuff, right? Which is really, really cool. So we're going to get into the meat of this video. So the next principle, which is really important for you to understand, notice I didn't say understand, understand, and that you can comprehend, is that you have, as an infinite divine spiritual being, you have absolute dominion, spiritual dominion, and spiritual authority over your own energetic field. All of you do. Regardless of your experience level, your own energetic field, and if you've listened to some of my previous videos, you will have heard me refer to this as the frequency egg, your electromagnetic field. If not, go back and watch those previous videos. However, your energetic field, aura, auric field, whatever you would like to call it, you get to say, you have absolute dominion and authority who gets to access that and who doesn't. Unfortunately, without realizing the context and realizing the rules of the game, we tend to give away consent and permission, and we tend to give away access pathways to our own energetic field. And what will happen is the negative frequencies that do exist within this duality reality within the quantum field tend to exploit this. And there are people who will exploit it consciously, and there are people and entities that sort of exploit things unconsciously. It's like, imagine if there's a pathway for water to flow and it starts raining, then the water is going to go down that path, isn't it? So it's about sort of recognizing what these consent pathways are. I'll talk to you about those in a moment, and about removing those consent, because you have absolute dominion and authority over your own energetic field. It's like your energetic home, and you get to say consciously who gets to access that and who doesn't. It's called consent. So consent pathways, I want to talk to you about this, is super important. Think of, if something was to access you energetically, whether it's another person, whether it's an entity, whether it's a demon, whether it's a low astral being, whether it's a negative ET race or whatever, they would require consent pathways, either direct consent or indirect consent. So we live in this universal law, we live with the universal law of free will, okay? So we all have free will to withdraw that consent at any time. However, we tend to unconsciously give this consent away, whether it's through message threads, whether it's through financial transactions, whether it's through accepting an email, whether it's engaging in somebody's energetic activations that you would find online, whether it's opening yourself up and opening your house up and not protecting your house or protecting yourself, which by therefore, if that then allows that frequency to come in, forms a consent pathway if you haven't taken the steps to learn about energetic protection. So thankfully you're watching this video, because you can take steps to remove that consent and to stop it happening. But don't think that it has to be direct consent that allows this energy to come in. Now, you could give direct consent, and that obviously creates a consent pathway. But most of the time, probably 85% of the time, people are creating what's called unconscious consent pathways. It's like direct and indirect consent. So by not closing something off, because you learning about spiritual protection is open to you, but some people perhaps just choose not to do it, or perhaps they just ignore it. That doesn't take away from the potential for that consent pathway to be created through communication, through whatever. And so it's super important that you take back the consent, that you remove the consent, and that you come back into what's called spiritual sovereignty at all times. Now, there are a few different techniques that you can use to protect yourself, spiritual protection techniques. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to go through these step by step, and I'm going to give you different techniques. Some are beginner techniques, other ones are a little bit more advanced, but certainly not beyond the realms of anybody who's a beginner being able to do it if you just follow the instructions. So I just want to give this away to you. Not going to gatekeep, I'm going to share it. That was my bread, if you heard the ding. Nothing to do with the video. The bread in the oven is ready. But what I wanted to say is that I'm going to give you some techniques in here that you can use within your life today. So immediately after this video, start to deploy the techniques that I'm going to give you now, and you will find that you're way more spiritually protected than you ever were before. So enjoy these techniques. So the first and probably the most basic technique, spiritual protection technique that I can give you, is bathing yourself in white light and using white light as a protection. Now, I don't mean go down the hardware shop and get yourself some studio lighting, like I'm illuminated from all sides. You can see the reflection. I've got a lot of studio lighting my face up here. So I don't mean go and buy some really strong LED lights and bathe yourself in white light and walk around outside with this big incandescent lamp bathing yourself in white light. I'm talking about spiritual white light. So what you would do within the quantum field, within your mind's eye, within your consciousness, you would just start to visualize yourself spiritually being bathed in white light. And that white light acts as a protection, because where there is light, there cannot be darkness. There cannot be anything which is of a low vibration. So when you're bringing this white light across yourself, you're actually bringing protection across yourself. Now, this is a super easy, one of probably the most fundamental techniques that you can do spiritually, okay? But it's very effective. However, it has its limitations. And I'm not just here giving you this technique and saying, okay, just bathe yourself in white light and it's all going to be fine, because it has its limitations. And this is why it's sort of like an elementary basic version of protection. So what are the drawbacks with this? Well, the drawbacks are it only works while you're focusing your point of attention on bringing that white light onto yourself energetically and spiritually. So it works while you're focused on it, but you're not going to be able for 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, be sitting there focusing on bringing white light, because you wouldn't be able to think about or do anything else, would you? You'd just be sitting there. So the reality is that it's a good temporary fix, but at some point you're going to need to start to focus and start to think about other things. And that the second that you move your point of attention onto something else, that white light stops coming down across you effectively. So it's almost like your point of attention focusing on it turns it on, but the second you focus on something else, it switches off. And you're back to where you were before. So don't think that bathing yourself in white light is a permanent fix. It's a good temporary fix whilst you're thinking about it. But at the same time, don't forget, the second you focus on something else, is that white light is going to stop spiritually, and therefore that protection disappears. So again, it's a real easy one to deploy, but it does have its drawbacks, and that's why it's an elementary sort of fundamental version. So we're going to go a little bit more advanced in the next example. Stay with me. So the next thing that I want to say to you, which is, and again, super easy, we're going to be getting more advanced as we go through the examples, but this is another nice, easy one for you. So it's cleansing your atmosphere in your home regularly using either white sage, okay, using either white sage, or I live here in Costa Rica, so we use something called palo santo down here, which is it's like a wood with oil in it they burn, and the smoke cleanses the atmosphere. They've used this back to indigenous times here. It's very, very common in Central and South America, and if you've never smelt palo santo, seek it out. It's not expensive wherever you are. You get the pieces of wood, you set them on, start to burn them, and then don't allow the flames to take over, but you allow the smoke to come. It's very aromatic smoke. It's lovely. So either white sage or what's called palo santo. Very common here in Central and South America, but seek it out. It's available all around the world. It's very inexpensive. You can use that to cleanse the atmosphere. And what will happen is either after you've had lots of people around your home, let's say once a week or once a fortnight, it's just good practice to cleanse the energy in the house that you're living in, right? You know, because quite often when we interact with societies, we can pick things up from other people. Just, you know, like coughs and colds. Spiritually, you can pick things up from other people, pardon me, and bring them home. So it's always good to make sure that you're cleansing your home environment, either, again, with white sage or palo santo. So what I would do is I would sort of walk around, what's called smudging. So you're layering this smoke around the house. And at the same time, say something that I would say, which is, I'm now declaring across this home, across this house where we reside, this house is only of the light and of the highest vibration. And you just keep repeating that. This house is only of the light and of the highest vibration. This house is only of the light and of the highest vibration. This house is only of the light and of the highest vibration. And I just keep chanting and repeating that over and over and over again as I'm just layering this smoke. And it just lifts the atmosphere. Now, it's always good to do this periodically. So don't wait till you've got a problem to do this. You know, just do it like you would clean your house. Think of it like cleaning. You don't just clean when, you know, your house has got so messy that you've tripped over something. It's, oh, I better clean the house now. You probably do the cleaning once a week, right? Or at least a couple of times a week, depending. And it's just called housekeeping. So energetically, think the same thing. So it is about just cleaning your house energetically. Just go through, and it's pleasant. It smells lovely. It feels lovely afterwards, right? So don't forget to cleanse your atmosphere, white sage or palo santo, and perform those mantras as you're doing it, and you'll feel the energy lift from your house almost right away. So the next thing, a little bit more advanced, is creating what's called quantum architecture around you to protect yourself. So what's quantum architecture? Well, think of it like building energetic structures within the quantum field with your consciousness, okay? It's not that you bring your quantum building company in and they're constructing this stuff. You construct it with your mind. And it's very, very powerful. So this is basically where you're creating bubbles, shields, domes around yourself, your house, your possessions, your loved ones, your business, anything that you can imagine, you can create this energy around. And like I say, you know, some people will refer it to as energetic bubbles, other ones as eggs, other ones as domes, whatever. Walls, it doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same thing. And what you're able to do is to build up these layers of frequency within the quantum field, programmed with intention. So these walls and shields and domes and bubbles do different things depending what you've programmed them to do. So you can have domes and energetic walls and quantum architecture around you that's protecting you from negative energy. You can have domes that are set up to protect you from people who are sending you negative energy, because there are people that do this stuff consciously, unfortunately. But as long as you're set up energetically and you're protected, then you're not gonna be experiencing negativity in relation to that. But you can just the programming that you can stick into this quantum architecture is limitless. It's limited by your imagination of what you can program into this stuff. So anything that you need to be protected from, start to create these domes, start to build them with your mind, start to see these bubbles programmed around yourself, and program them, or domes or whatever it is, start to program them with your intention. And the intention is to protect against X, Y, and Z. And there's different techniques, and there's different walls, and there's different shields, and there's different bubbles that do different things. There's even different layers of the quantum field. I can do a different video if you want me to, talking about sort of dark matter and different layers of the quantum field and things like that. But it gets quite Jedi and a bit sort of technical in relation to that. But you can create this stuff around yourself to effectively protect yourself spiritually, which is what this is all about, right? And again, you know, you've got to think yin yang. This reality is a duality reality. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. You've got this situation where there is darkness, there is light in the dark, and there is dark in the light. You know, there's that saying, and that describes this reality perfectly if you think about it. You know, there's a saying, there's a saying, there's a phrase that you might have heard, which is, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Let that sink in. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. I'm not religious at all, I'm spiritual. But what I'm talking about is this light, this darkness, the darkness in the light and the light in the dark, right? It's always fluid. It's never kind of binary. It's never one thing or another. There's a blend of this duality in various forms, right? But there is light, there is darkness. So we need to protect ourselves from that darkness, right? And don't forget, I just want to remind you again that each and every single one of you has absolute dominion and absolute spiritual authority over your own energetic space. It's just what you allow to come in and what you consent to coming in. You are an infinite divine spiritual being with your own spiritual home, your energetic field. You get to say who accesses and what accesses that and when. Nothing else. As long as you can remember and embody the energy that you have absolute dominion and authority over your own energetic space, then only what you allow to come in is able to come in. This is how it is. And it's the same. You have dominion and authority over your own energetic space. So that's not just your own energetic field. That's where you live. That's your physical house. That's your casa, your home, right? All of your possessions, everything like this. Your family, for instance, your pets. Start to think in terms of spiritual authority, who has it and who doesn't. When it comes to your own energetic space, you are sovereign and you have the ultimate authority. You get to say what comes and you get to say what goes. And lastly, and I want to save the best till last really, and this is really, really cool. You can start doing what are called daily declarations, and it becomes like a mantra. So you need to basically write down something that you recite every single morning. Don't forget that words cast frequency, and your words carry power. So anything that you say out loud, anything that you declare into the quantum field at the beginning of the day carries power, and it carries protection. So set yourself up an energetic, spiritual defense declaration that you repeat every single morning. So I've got declarations. I say as part of my personal spiritual routine, my wife is the same. Spiritual routine, it's something that we do every single morning, and we've done this for months, if not over a year. And I've got a personal declaration that I recite first thing I do every single morning, and the same for the one for the business as well. So I've got one for the business and I've got one for me personally. My wife has one for her personally too. And what that states what you are removing consent from. Now you can imagine me sort of being out there on the internet and being on social media and working with a lot of people. There's a lot of different scenarios I've got to protect from, right? That's just par for the course. That's just how it is. It's okay. But, you know, if you're sort of just living life day to day, there's probably less that you need to protect from. But those declarations are so powerful. And if you've got a partner, right? If you've got a boyfriend, or you've got a girlfriend, or you've got a husband or a wife, or you know, you've got civil partnership, whatever it is, if both of you are prepared to take this on, and you both write declarations, and you both make a vow to recite them every single day, you've made a covenant. And it is almost the equivalent of covenant prayer. And that's the most powerful prayer, because you've got the same people coming together with the same intention at the same time every single day to cast the same energy into the field. So when you pray, it's no different to performing a declaration. It's just words have the power. Words carry the frequency, right? So it's declarations. As long as you make a vow to do that and you stick to it every single day, like we have now for nearly a year, our declarations are like cast iron titanium. They're so strong now because we layer it every day. And it's the same for you. So I'm not going to tell you what to write. I'm not going to tell you what needs to be in that declaration. It depends on your life. But declare what it is that you're allowing and what it is that you're not allowing energetically, spiritually, and layer it in like covenant prayer every single day. It's the most powerful form of declaration. So if you've enjoyed this video, it's been a pleasure to make it for you, and it's spiritual protection for beginners. Now, again, I just remind you, if you're liking the content, please consider subscribing to the channel because it helps us grow and it helps us to help you. And then once you're subscribed, you're going to get notified every single time we drop a new video on this channel. And again, it's going to help you not waste any time whatsoever. What I'm going to do, if you're interested in this subject, and all of the other spiritual subjects, I'm going to link it in the description. It's a link to our online community called the Quantum Club. We nickname it our Jedi School of Light. We've been going as a membership for nearly 5 years now, and we meet every single week for live sessions on every single subject that you can imagine. On the topic of today's video, we've held full day workshops within the Quantum Club on advanced spiritual protection. We've taught all day on it. And some of the techniques in there are really Jedi, and some of the techniques are super, super powerful. And as a member, you're not only getting access to the weekly live sessions, but you've got access to all the workshops and all of the sessions that we've ever done in the Quantum Club over 5 years. There's about 330 hours of recorded content in there that's supercharged with energy. We meet all of the galactics. We've covered every single spiritual subject that you can imagine. Sometimes we have guest speakers in there. It's an amazing community. The link is in the description. Go and check it out. And we look forward to welcoming you into the Quantum Club, our Jedi School of Light, and taking you spiritually to the next levels and beyond. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video, and I will see you very soon on the next one. Take care and stay blessed. I love you. Bye-bye.